going from talking about two little angels to talking about an absolute twonk, a real horrible person, psycho number one. The more I look into this case of the Idaho 4, the more you see that the person who's responsible for killing these 4 people in Idaho, I don't know what's happening in Idaho. There seems to be a lot of things go on there. Don't think I want to live in Idaho. I seem to have gone to Idaho for a lot of cases. These 4 lovely young people just living their lives, young people, just having fun like young people should do. Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Morgan, Zana Knodel, and Ethan Chapin. So they were all killed on one night of absolute horror. They all lived together in like a student house, didn't they? And one night evil came calling in the form of Brian Kohberger. Have I got a picture of him? I suppose I should put a picture of him up. I mean, he is like, talk about evil looking person. Let me just find a picture of him. I'm sure you've all seen a picture of him. Now, Brian Kohberger, of course, he's got his fan base of the Brian Kohberger Fruit Loops, who thought he was innocent. God, I thought I had a picture of him somewhere. I've no idea where the pictures are of him. A lot of people, all these Fruit Loops, thinking he was innocent. Oh, there he is. There he is. He was innocent. So he took this picture, didn't he? Just after he'd murdered all those 4, and I don't even have to say allegedly now, because he has confessed. He has pled guilty to killing those 4 young people. And just after he killed them, he took this selfie. Honestly, this picture is the creepiest picture. He's got his thumbs up. He's as pale as a ghost, isn't he, with his bushy eyebrows, and he emanates evil, this man, to me. His eyes are a psychopath's eyes. He's just creepier than creepier. The most, and those poor people. I mean, he had a balaclava on, which would have been even more terrifying, I suppose. But I don't know what would be more terrifying, actually seeing this guy's face. Let's have a look at some other pictures of him, because he's a true, he's one of those. And of course, he was a criminology student. A criminology student. Couldn't make it up, could you? And still got all his fans. Let's have a look at these pictures of him. Oh, weirdo. Total weirdo. Anyway, he's pled guilty. He's pled guilty now. Now, every photo you look at of him, look, he's just so scary. And his defense, he's just like, Ted Bundy was his hero, and he thinks he's Ted Bundy. But of course, he didn't go on for it. Ted Bundy was in that age of, golden age of serial killers, if you like, before forensic evidence and stuff. And so he unfortunately got away with a lot more murders than Brian Kohberger did. But he was his hero. It's the eyes, isn't it? Look at the eyes. Oh my God. This picture always gets to me. And his defense lawyer, who will have known right from the beginning that he was guilty of murdering these young people, they were going to try, their defense case was really just trying to claim that other people had done it. She was always laughing and joking with him. I don't know how she could even sit with him. I mean, look at his eyes there looking at her. knowing what he'd done to those 4 young people. I cannot bear these defence lawyers. I honestly can't. I know everyone's entitled to a defence, but, you know, just... Anyway, at the end of the day, he has admitted what he's done. Thankfully, again, at least he's spared the family. I think the families, because of course you talk about 4 different families here, because 4 different victims. I think there was sort of mixed feelings originally, like they want him, because he's not pled guilty to save the family's feelings. He's pled guilty because he's frightened of the death penalty. So all the things he was claiming didn't work, did they? He said he was autistic. He was going to use the autistic defence. That didn't seem to work out for him. Then I think they were going to try and cast aspersions on other people that might possibly have done it, cast doubt on the evidence, etc. Anyway, that didn't work, did it? So I think finally he's realised that he's going for he's heading for the electric chair or lethal injection or whatever, and he's got no chance of getting off with it. So that's why he's pled guilty, so that he doesn't get the electric chair, not because he wants to save these families' feelings. You know, he's a truly evil man, this real true psychopath. Just pose for that picture with his thumb up, smiling. He looks sort of sated, doesn't he? Anyway, so of course a lot of people are thinking, what was the motive? You know, you don't need a motive, do you? I mean, a psycho like that doesn't need a motive, but it is thought that maybe he was aiming for one of those girls and the others were just almost collateral damage. But, you know, it's not been... Maybe that will come out at his sentencing, or maybe it will come out soon. So as I say, the families have had mixed feelings. Some families, I think, are glad they've not got to go through a trial. And then I think others of them are angry that he's going to escape the death penalty. You know, so, but, you know, that's, you know, it's not for me to comment on that, because they're the ones going through hell. I mean, this is a case to most of us. We're talking about discussing it, but these poor families, they're waking up every morning dealing with the reality of what's happened to their young person. And that they're never going to get them back again. Whether Brian Kohberger gets a death penalty or not won't bring them back. You know, it's terrible, isn't it? Anyway, the news, a bit of an update about this, is that the gag order has been lifted. So there was a gag order on this case, and the judge has lifted it. Having said that, there are still quite a lot of things that are still sealed, and the things that are sealed are going to remain sealed. So let's just have a look.
Welcome into Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. We do want to continue on in bringing you some of this breaking news that just came into our newsroom. It's a story that we've been following from the very beginning. I want to showcase this tweet that we have from Fox News. This just breaking, though. A judge has ultimately lifted Brian Kohberger's case gag order, but does say that those sealed documents in that quadruple murder case will remain sealed. So, of course, we know that we were watching and waiting for this news to come out. This is the man, though, Brian Kohberger, who that Idaho judge has now lifted that sweeping gag order.
God, I mean, he truly is chilling, isn't he? You know, quite often people do look like, quite often there are people who don't look like what they are, don't they? We've looked at cases where it could be the person living next door to you. You would never suspect anything. But I think there's something about this guy. I think he gives you chills just to look at him. And, you know, again, I've heard rumours about his family. There's something strange about his family. There's thoughts that maybe his parents knew and were covering up for him. You know, so that's maybe something I'll look at in a different video. But, you know, because you always feel sorry for families, don't you? Because you think, you know, even the families of the perpetrators, you think, well, they haven't done anything and they get all this But there is a lot of talk that maybe Brian's mum and dad knew something about this, that he confessed to them. So maybe. I need to look into that more deeply, though I haven't looked into it deeply enough to really comment on it yet.
In his quadruple murder case, ultimately, we know that Kohberger has avoided the potential death sentence by pleading guilty earlier this month to the brutal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students that happened at a rental home near campus back in 2022. Prosecutors, though, say that he spent months carefully planning this attack, and that his studies as a criminal justice graduate student at Washington State University.
No, and I think he's enjoying this. I've watched him. He's got no emotions whatsoever. He's a bit like Erin, Erin Patterson. I felt like she was sort of enjoying it. She was interested in crime. It's like, when I say enjoying it, she probably wasn't expecting to get found guilty. But he sort of sat there, he's sort of enjoying the whole event, all the attention. He'll be getting fan letters from these Fruit Loops that write to these psychopaths. He'd just be loving it. And then that bloody defense lawyer, she looks like she's loving it as well. She can't stop smiling. She's laughing and joking with him. You just think, for fuck's sake, have a bit of thought for these families, what they're going through. Don't make it look so enjoyable, for God's sake. Sorry, I could feel myself going on a rant there. Thank you, Joanne. That's very kind. Oh, you're right, so kind. Thank you. Let me play my thank you thing. Yeah, I nearly didn't see that because I was just about going on a rant about these people enjoying these cases. It's not entertainment. It's like, is she, because it's a high profile case, is she like, oh, I'm defending Brian Kohberger, just for fuck's sake. Who would want to defend him? Who would want to defend him? You can't defend the indefensible, in my opinion. Thank you, Joanne. That's very kind. Just horrible people. Yeah, I think they do like the limelight. I do think they do. It's like, well, you know me, as I say, I could not be a defense lawyer. Just couldn't do it with hand on heart, knowing that he killed these young people and the misery. It's not only the misery he's put his victims through. These are the victims, and the terror and the pain and how scared they must have been. But it's not only them, is it? It's not only them. It's all the ripples that go out from it. The families, siblings, friends, cousins, parents. It never ends. And it is a life sentence for them. They've already had their life sentence. We've got to wait for his sentencing. I think it might be even next week, but it won't be long. We'll find out what his sentencing will be, which will be life without parole. I mean, can't be anything else really, can it? But they've already had their sentence. The night that he murdered all these 4 people, those families and friends were sentenced. And I bet the only good thing, it's not even a good thing really, but they'll get a chance to read their victim impact statements, and they'll be able to look him in the face and tell him what they really think of him. And that'll be something. Won't be much though, will it really, at the end of the day? But it's something. What a twonk.
Ultimately helped him to take the steps to cover up his tracks. Kohberger, though, did admit to breaking into that rental home through a sliding door, killing the 4 friends who had no connection with him. And so this has been a story that has captured national attention as well. But today we know that judge in Moscow, Idaho, issued a sweeping gag order early on in the case, barring those prosecutors, but today deciding to lift it. Defense attorneys.
Yeah, and remember they pulled this house down, didn't they? Which was strange. I mean, now he's pled guilty, it doesn't matter so much. But very odd that I think before he was tried and sentenced, They should not have demolished that house because they might have needed, I'm sure they took, I don't know, videos and things, because the jury, if it would have come to a jury, the jury would have wanted to see the layout of the house and everything. But yeah, it's very surprising when they demolished it, really. But anyway, doesn't matter now because he's pled guilty. That's the one good thing that he's done.
And other officials involved in that investigation from talking to reporters or others on anything, but not all that has not already been included in those public court documents. Ultimately, though, a coalition of news organizations, including the Associated Press and others, asked the judge to lift that gag order, but he refused, saying that additional publicity could harm Kohberger's right to a fair trial. However, that gag order was lifted on Thursday. So I wanted to bring you this update here on Live Now from Fox. We're continuing to follow this case as Ryan Kohberger is expected to be sentenced next week. But the biggest news, again, you can see it here from Fox News tweeting this out on their X account, that the breaking news is that the judge has officially lifted that case gag order, but does say that those sealed documents in the quadruple murder case will remain sealed at this time.
So now, I don't know what the sealed documents are, but it'd be interesting to see that now the gag order's been lifted, what comes out, or will not really much come out until the actual sealed documents are unsealed, which will probably be after the sentencing, won't it? But anyway, interesting that the gag order's been lifted. There's no reason for a gag order now anyway, because he's pled guilty.
Anything changes with this, we'll certainly bring it to you here on Live Now from Fox.
So yeah, I mean, I'm going to definitely look more into his mum and dad and the family, because, I say, it's thought that maybe they knew what he'd done, maybe he confessed to them. And, we've heard this quite a lot, haven't we? If my son phoned me or came to see me and said, look, I've just murdered 4 people, the last thing I'd be doing is trying to cover up for him. Now, I would still love him and I would still go and see him, and I'd just have to get over the fact of the terrible thing he'd done. He'd still be my son. But I would be taking him to the police station. Well, I'd be struggling to pick him up and put him in the car because he's 6'5". But do you know what I mean? I would be encouraged. I wouldn't be covering up for him. If he said to me, oh, can you hide this for me because blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's different if they come to you and say something, can you give me an alibi? And they might make up a reason for it. I don't know. They might say, I don't want this girl to know that I went out with this other girl. If she asks you where I was, can you say I was with you? That's different. Though I don't think I would even do that, to be honest. I don't like lies. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. I'm just using that as an example. But if he's asking you to give an alibi because actually really he was away, murdering 4 people and, making, not only murdering them, but destroying their families' lives forever. Like, no. I just can't imagine this conversation in my head that these people have. I've seen it so many times with people confessing to their family or friends, and their friends covering up for them. And you just imagine the phone call. It's like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, well, I'm not too good because I've just murdered 4 people. But can you give me an alibi, or can you come and help me just clean up, or can you come and help me dismantle? I mean, with Lindsay Quay, poor Lindsay Quay, her husband Mitchell killed her and phoned his brother Elliot, who was a butcher, and asked him to come over and help him dismember her remains and distribute them all over Southport. Just what? And that brother is out now, free. Just terrible. He should have got the same life sentence to me, because he may not have killed Lindsay, but the fact that he covered it up and made Lindsay's parents suffer. And in fact, Lindsay's brother actually unalived himself because he couldn't cope with what had happened to Lindsay. So these people that cooperate with killers, and try and cover up for them, And it shouldn't pervert in the course of justice. It should be a stronger sentence. It should be a life sentence in these cases, because it's just terrible. It's almost even worse because Mitchell killed Lindsay in a fit of, I don't know, jealous rage, or because she was leaving him, and and I'm not exonerating that, but at least it was in a moment, not somebody coldly being told, getting every opportunity to go to the police and tell them and saying, oh yeah, I'll come and help you chop her up, like foul people, terrible people. Hey, Bluebell. Oh, yeah. No, you're thinking of Scott Peterson, Bluebell. That was Scott Peterson. Yeah, she's his sister. Scott Peterson killed his wife, Lacey Peterson. There's a good documentary on Netflix about it, as there is. Netflix is right on with these documentaries. But yeah, Scott Peterson, his parents, he was a spoilt brat, wasn't he? Total spoilt brat. And when Lacey was 9 months pregnant, wasn't she? She was just about to give birth. In fact, she gave birth. I mean, this is horrible, but he dumped her in a lake, or he took his boat, he did like a Dexter style disposal of her body, took her out to on his boat around about Christmas time, dumped her body in the lake. And then there's a strange thing that happens to deceased pregnant women when she actually gave birth to the baby. And so the baby's body was found first, and then Lacey's body was found afterwards. And his parents still won't have it. And his sister, as you say, Bluebell, Scott Peterson's sister, went on to study law so that she could help him appeal. He's still appealing now, 20 years later. Just recently he was appealing, and he actually recently was attacked in prison. Good. Hope he gets attacked again. He's the worst of the worst, because he was one of those that had a silver spoon in his mouth. He was given all the privileges, doting parents. He was no financial problems, nothing. He didn't want a baby, because a baby would have taken the attention off him. He's a typical narcissist, psychopath. He just wanted all the attention on him, and he's a bit like Chris Watson that way, because he'd also met another woman, Amber, who was a massage therapist, and he'd fallen in love with her. He told her he was divorced. Oh no, he told her he was widowed, I think. But it's only when she saw him on the TV, this poor woman, that he was having an affair. She didn't think she was having an affair. She thought he was her only, she thought he was a widow. But he told her he was a widow before Lacey was even dead. But then afterwards, she saw him on the TV, because he didn't want to be seen on the TV. They noticed that at the time when they were making appeals to find Lacey. He would always avoid the cameras because he didn't want to be on the TV, because he knew that Amber would see him when it got like really big news. And that's exactly what happened. So Amber went straight to the police. And, she had to live under a suspicion, but she had nothing to do with it. She didn't even know about Lacey. And she certainly didn't know that Lacey, that he had a pregnant wife. Anyway, so he was found guilty, but yeah, his sister, as you say, still thinks he's innocent. It's like, it's like, what's wrong with these people? Fruit Loops. And yeah, she went back to college to study law so she could help to get him off. He won't ever get off. And he did a runner, didn't he? He did a runner. He dyed his hair blonde. He was on the way to Mexico when he was finally arrested. He was so guilty, it was untrue, but his sister and his family, he's the golden boy, golden balls. You know, he couldn't do anything like that. You know, it's that terrible Lacey. You know, something, she must have done something wrong. She must have killed herself and thrown herself in the water or something. But anyway. Yeah. Yeah, he did. He told his wife, his girlfriend, he phoned her from Lacey's vigil and said he was in Paris. Was it New Year or something like that? I think it was New Year. And he said he was in Paris for New Year and actually was at his own wife's vigil then, Lacey's vigil for her death. He's a horrible man.